What is up, my peeps? Joshua Smith here, and welcome to the GSD Mode Podcast, your most trusted resource to help you continue to grow and scale your real estate business, where each and every single week, I'm delivering serious information for serious real estate professionals looking to get shit done and create serious results, all 100% free, nothing being sold, no BS, no fluff, no theory, just great, amazing content to help you, again, continue to level up inside your real estate business. Now, real quick, before we jump into today's content, there are 4 extremely important things that I want you to do, that I want you to take action on right now. These will only take you seconds to do, but this will ensure that you are set up for maximum success, have access to all this great content, all these great free resources, as well as to ensure that you are not missing out on all of the realtor to realtor referrals that are constantly and consistently taking place between all of our amazing GSD Mode podcast listeners. All right, so number 1, I want you to watching this on YouTube right now, make sure that you hit that subscribe button and then tap that notification bell. That will ensure that you are alerted every single time a new one of these a GSD Mode podcast is released. All right, so number 2, wherever your go-to podcast audio place is. So wherever you go to listen to your podcast app, I want you to pull up the GSD Mode Podcast and make sure to subscribe to it there. The GSD Mode Podcast is currently on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and Spotify. And this will ensure and allow you to be able to listen to all this amazing content while you're driving, while you're working out, while you're on the go, and all of that. All right, number 3, make sure to join the GSD Mode free Facebook Mastermind group, where that you can then go in and mastermind with thousands and thousands of realtors, team leaders, broker owners, right? And again, you guys, these are all GSD Mode podcast listeners that are all seriously committed to leveling up inside their real estate business. Plus, I create and have exclusive content and resources available to just that group alone, can only be accessed inside that group, doing Facebook Lives and so forth. So I want to make sure that you don't miss out on that either. And then lastly, again, as I mentioned a moment ago, all the realtor to realtor referrals are taking place inside this GSD Mode Facebook group. So this will ensure that you do not miss out on any of those referrals. And look, if you don't find value on it, if you don't like once you jump in, if you're not seeing the value in it, if you think it's a distraction, right? It's harmless. You can just leave the group anytime that you want, right? So definitely go check that out and make sure that you join that group right away. I will make sure that you are approved. I go in there once a day, every single day, and approve all members and so forth. All right, last thing. And I've saved the best for last. Make sure that you go snag my new book, Dominate Your Real Estate Business, Top Tips from a Top Producer. There's 42 tips, strategies throughout this whole entire book. There's 100 pages. Each chapter is a different tip, a different strategy that are fully proven, that I've implemented in my business and that have allowed me to become one of the top realtors and team leaders on the planet, and will 100% allow you and help you to be able to go out and dominate your real estate business as long as you implement and take action on what you learn. But you guys, these are gold. There's no stories in here. It's all, again, 100% free. So you can go snag your free copy right now at joshuasmithfreebook.com, joshuasmithfreebook.com. Now, if you just scroll below, if you're not to be able to take it, you're not able to take action on these now, go into the notes. You'll see all of these. You can take action right then and there inside the notes, but make sure that you take action on these. So again, you are set up fully for success. And as I mentioned, you guys, nothing being sold, no BS, no fluff, no theory, just great resources, great content, great information to help you on this success journey that we are all on and leveling up our real estate businesses. All right, let's jump on into today's epic, amazing GSD Mode podcast content. What is up, my peeps? Joshua Smith here with another GSD Mode podcast interview, where every single week I interview top real estate professionals, top entrepreneurs, and straight up top badasses out there dominating their space. And today, you guys, got another rock star guest here on the podcast. Our guest today, Michael Dougherty. So just to give you guys a little background before we jump in and learn from our guest today and his story and what he has done to create so much success and what he's doing to create success right now in early 2021 in this crazy market. So he has been a realtor and a team leader for the past 7 years. He has sold over 1,000 plus homes, top selling individual agent in his market for 2 straight years in a row, and is located in the Hampton Roads, AKA Virginia Beach market. So Michael, welcome to the GSD Mode Podcast, my friend.
Thanks, man. Thanks so much for having me on.
Yeah, I'm stoked, dude, man. So, yeah, dude, and right now, everybody I'm talking to all throughout the at least the U.S. There's parts of Canada where I'm talking to agents that are in like the opposite market. that we're in. But here in the US, dude, it record low inventory, crazy markets, with the exception of maybe a couple markets like if you work in the city of San Francisco or New York, right, where a lot of people are leaving. But almost everybody's experiencing the same headaches, man, low inventory, lack of listings and so forth. And I know you're having a lot of success with this right now. But before we get into things that are working right now, man, let's rewind the clocks. Like I'm always intrigued in our guest journeys that led them here in the first place. Like, what did you do before real estate and what led you into getting into real estate?
Oh man. So before real estate, I maintained foreclosed homes for banks. So just a quick rundown on the foreclosure process. The mortgage company that has your mortgage has the right to maintain their asset. If you abandon the property, you stop paying your mortgage and then abandon it, essentially they have the right to maintain that asset. And when the property's been vacated, or if you're still living there not paying your mortgage, sometimes they'll evict. But essentially once it's vacated, they'll hire a subcontractor to change the locks, cut the grass, clean up and board broken windows, patch the roof, clean up all your trash that maybe, somebody left behind. Because a lot of times on a foreclosure, when someone stops paying for a home, oftentimes they stop taking care of it. And so they just leave it a mess a lot of times, not always, but a lot of times. So we were hired to go out there and clean it all up. So literally, I was the guy that would clean out a toilet that had been used for like 6 months with no water, man. Like it was the dirtiest, nastiest, most like hard, grueling labor job that most people probably ever would work. But that's what I did for about 5 years before real estate. And I was fine with it. I love working, period. I love work in general. Loved being out and about all the time. But my family was growing at the time and I was capped out in income. There was no way I could earn any more money at the company that I was at unless somebody like retired and I moved up. There was just no space. And I was really tired of that glass ceiling. At the same time, our healthcare was dropped from the company. And my wife had our second child on the way, my son, Logan, and I needed to make more money. And my dad suggested, he said this line, he's like, "You've always been good at selling things. Why don't you get your real estate license?" And I was like, "Great idea, Dad, but I'm so broke. I don't have it's like $400 for the class. I don't have the money." So he said, "Hey, I'll loan you the $400. You go get your schooling done." So took the real estate course, jumped in, took like 7 months before I sold my first house, but I got around the right people early on, and that really, really spurred me on. But that's why I got started, was to provide for my family better. And that's kind of how I got started. My dad loaned me $400.
Yeah, love it, dude, man. And I know that world that you were in prior all too well. The market I'm in here in Phoenix, like we were one of the meccas for REO. I mean, we were one of the hardest hit markets. We had certain pockets where home valuations had dropped 80+%, and it was like 90% of property selling were either some short sale or REO.
That's crazy.
I represent the banks on the Realtor, so I was selling them, but obviously, had to work with all the field asset management, service companies, and dude, it was a crazy world for sure, man. All right, dude. So you jump on into this new career. Now, were you part-time when you first jumped in? Like, did you make that transition where you were keeping your other job going until you started getting some revenue from this one?
Yes, sir. So like most agents, I went to a large firm in the area that had a lot of name recognition, and they would teach you to do, cold calling and open houses and stuff. So I would get off from work. If I happened to have a showing lined up, I'd bring a change of clothes with me to the office. And so, I'd change out of my clothes that were like stained with paint and covered in grass clippings from the day. I got like cuts from some window I cleaned up, whatever, throw my clothes and then, go show a house if I had that. But usually in the beginning, especially, you don't have any clients are showing. So I was doing cold calls, and I would do open houses on the weekends. I would work 6 days a week at my day job, 7 if it was available. And then at night and on the weekends when I wasn't working, I would do real estate part-time. That lasted for about a year. And I remember I got licensed in April of 2014. By May of 2015, I was so busy with real estate that I had to quit my day job so I could go sell more houses. Because like by that month, that May of 2015, about a year later, it was like the first month where it was a really good month. I sold like 5 houses that month, and it was enough to kind of carry us.
Love it, dude. So during that time, because that year of being, having your other job, plus doing real estate is really your side hustle. So you're grinding, 7 days a week, no days off. You're showing up after hours, after you all your hard labor and work with your other job, which is a lot of physical labor and grind and whatever. Like from a mental aspect, like what kept you going? And the reason why I'm asking this is so there's so many people out there that just don't stick with things long enough to get the payout, and they abandon it too quickly, and and so forth. And whether you're full-time in real estate or part-time, right? I mean, it just takes the time to get that momentum going up, and a lot of people just abandon it too quickly and whatever. And I'm sure that was tough, and I'm sure that was on your mind of like, is this worth it, man? I'm doing all this grind, not seeing my family, tired as shit. Like what kept you pushing through it? Because thank God you did, because it's massively paid off.
Yeah, thank God indeed, man. What kept me going back then was the right why. I don't know who said it, but with the right why, you can endure anyhow. And my wife and kids was all I would think about. And I really felt like from that first time that I walked into real estate school for like night classes, just something in me knew that this was it. Like this was going to work. This was my opportunity. I was never terribly good at anything. I was not like the best athlete on any team I ever played on. I was usually the last kid picked in basketball or football or whatever, for pickup games. I was a C student. Girls didn't think too much of me in school. Like none of it, nothing ever clicked. But when I walked in that real estate class that first night, I just knew that this was different. I could hear like the first broker I ever met with to go on at his firm. He said, most agents, 99% of them or whatever, don't renew after the first year. It's terrible stats in our industry for renewal. But all I could think was like, dude, you're not talking to me. I'm going to make it. This is it. Like I just believed. I know that was really fueled by my need to provide for my family. So if anyone out there's listening to this and they say, well, I don't have a family or whatever, just find your why. Like, what motivates you to go do this thing and build some disciplines around that motivation and just keep going.
Yep. Love it. Such powerful stuff, dude. All right, man. So you're a year into this or whatever, you crushed the 5 home sales that 1 month, and you talked about all the activities that you were doing, when you were, in your part-time side hustle, if you will, for real estate. Then what was, I'm curious what your focus was now that you were full-time, because now you got, or before maybe at 20, 30 hours a week or whatever it was for your real estate business, now you got as much as you want. What then became the focus? What was your schedule? What was, when you got full-time now? Because a lot of people struggle with that, right? What do I do now? I had 20 hours, I had to be laser focused at 20 hours. Now I got 80 hours. Like, what do I do?
Yeah. Great question, man. So I got on with a broker around August of 2014. I switched brokerages, and my broker has become one of my very best friends. His name is Jonathan Melvin, and he was the top REO guy in our area. And so this was 2014, he'd have like 40 active listings at a time. And so he's got all these signs around town, and he didn't have the time to service the buyers. So when someone would call, that call would go into the office. And he only had like 2 agents at the time at his firm beyond himself. If they were out of town or something, there was no one to help that buyer. And so I was like, hey man, I'll take every phone call you got. And so I really started stacking those up. And you're talking about a really low dollar amount. Our average price point at that time in 2014 was probably $250,000 a house. These people were calling about $50,000 foreclosures. I didn't care. I'm broke. I'm a new best friend. Let's do it. So once I had enough of those in the pipeline, I started using the Buffini and Company system and methodology of really focusing on getting referrals and building awesome relationships. My mom took me to a real estate conference right when I got licensed back in 2014. And it was a Brian Buffini conference, and I loved his message and stuff. And I just knew whenever I had some money saved up, because I was broke back then, I was going to utilize his system. So in 2015, when I went full time, I was used to working all the time. I was used to working 6-7 days a week, all the time, nonstop. And so I just took those free hours and put them into work. And the people that I already had saved in my phone, I would just do more follow-up, try to sell more houses that way. And then when that fall came around of 2015, so I'd been, full time for about 6 months at that point, I took some of his training courses and really delved deep into the methodology of the program. I started reading all the books that him and then guys like him recommended. I would just eat everything up to develop myself and make myself someone worthy of getting a lot of referrals from my database and worthy of those deep relationships.
Yeah, and I love that, dude. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, so many focus on the immediate and they're not focused on the long game. Meaning they'll be like, dude, look, okay, I'm getting these low cost, let's just say, like you talked about $50,000 average price point.
Yeah.
Or whether it's that or not, maybe it's a higher price point, but maybe they're like, oh, I got to pay, but after I pay referral fees splits, what team, whatever, maybe I'm only making 30, 40, 50% of the commission, right? And they're just focused on the now versus, number one, you're getting the experience, but even more importantly, if you do it right, now you become their realtor for life. And that leads to, now you're getting 100% on all that future business you're doing with them, referral business, and, and it's paid off, and massively for you. How quickly did it take when you started focusing? Because at this point, you're still pretty new.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of realtors do have the mindset of, well, man, the average person in my area is buying and selling every 10 years. So I'm not going to see, that business from, kind of building a business in referral, but they don't really think about the referral business from those people. Yeah. It's not just the repeat business. How long did it take it to really start to pop and really start to pay off where that became, allowed you to really just capitalize and focus on that part of the business?
I would say sometime in 2016, and you're so right. Some people approach that system of building better relationships and getting repeat and referral business as, man, they only buy or sell every so often. But what you don't think about is they know other people. It's not necessarily just about the person in front of you. That person knows a ton of people, and if you do a good job for them, and if you do a good job of staying top of mind with them, they'll refer you to their friends and family. So I started seeing it significantly tick up referral wise in 2016. And then every year after that, it just keeps building on top of itself.
Now, since that point, has that been like your only focus, or are you still doing things to get some new business coming in with other things like maybe, online ads or you mentioned open houses or did that 100% of that focus now just become, business through relationships?
100% business through relationships, 100%. Yeah. And I've leveraged online, but as more of a tool to deepen the relationship. So I add all my clients on Facebook. Facebook automatically sends them an invite to Instagram, so you get two platforms there. Every closing I do, I get a picture of my clients, and then I try to tell a little bit of their story on Facebook, just post a picture with them. And a lot of agents, when they make a post, they say hey, look at me, look at this great deal. I got this person. You should call me. You should love me. You want your messaging to be, hey, I love you. This person here gave me the awesome opportunity to help them. Here's the hard work that they did. And if you would like any help, here's where, just call me at this phone number or message me. But I've really tried to center my social media messaging around that, around telling the stories of my clients, try to position myself as a guide, to use a Donald Miller. There's a great book called Building Your Story Brand by Donald Miller. I use his methodology in my Facebook and Instagram marketing. So I've used online that way to deepen the referral relationship and really only marketing still to my database. I don't pay for ads and stuff. So it is 100% just business relationships.
Yeah, dude, I love that, man. I love that you brought that up because so many do not hear every freaking day that people are looking to replace the human connection element. They're looking to replace them with technology versus you leveraging technology is a way to be more effective and more efficient at deepening the relationships. And there's a fine line in the difference between the two. And so I'm really glad that you brought that up, man. And dude, look, for those that are watching, listening, this isn't just, I talk to a lot of agents that, oh yeah, my business is all repeat referral business. And they're doing okay. Maybe they're doing, 12, 20 homes a year and doing okay with it. But you've done this at volume. 1,000+ sales, right? Yeah. Number one individual producing agent in your market, which is a big market. It's not like you're in a tiny little 10,000 population town with only 50 realtors.
Right.
Right. So this has been done to scale. Right. So in order to do that, what are some of the most important things that you've found when it comes to building a business through referral? Because I think ultimately that's what we all want, right? And I'm not saying that, you still can't go out there and generate new leads, but, if you can imagine a business, and I'm not necessarily speaking to you, Michael, because you already know this and obviously you've done it and know the power of this, but those who watch and listen, just imagine a business where you come into the office, and you got, I don't know, 6 people or whatever, reaching out to you. They're like, oh, hey, so-and-so said you were amazing. I wanted to reach out looking for this. Or, you come to the office and you got, 3 come list me calls today. And you're not having to chase, you're attracting, right? And very high conversion ratios and so forth. So for that, what would have been like the most key things that you're like, all right, we got to make sure we get these things right and can't drop the ball on these things in order to really do this right where you've been able to scale it the way you have?
That's an excellent question, man. So there's 2 sides of that. There's your personal motivation and the spirit in which you do something. And then there's business systems. And either of those things without the other one are going to fall pretty flat or have a really low ceiling. You could have the best heart and the best intentions, but if you don't build any systems within your business as this is the way that we do things, you can only grow so big and you can only scale so much. And you can only serve so many people at one time before you hurt somebody, because even though you meant well, you failed them because you didn't build a system. We judge others by their actions and ourselves by our intentions. And right. So take the action, build the system around the intention. And then as far as like you were talking about, people are trying to replace personal connection with systems and with technology. You just can't. People have to feel like you care about them. So I try to start there. When I'm present with someone, when I'm in a meeting with a client, when I'm meeting with you right now, my phone's on airplane mode. I'm locked in, man. I'm here. And it's like that at listing appointments, it's like that at showings. And I do everything from that place of trying to show this person that I love them and trying to serve their best interests above mine. And we get that right. And then we have a follow-up system after that. So you have a really intense moment with the client at closing. And then after that, it's kind of anticlimactic. You have to build a system in which you can stay in touch with these people automatically and then sprinkle in some face-to-face, voice-to-voice as well. So obviously, you need to have an awesome database. I'm sure you can recommend several awesome CRMs. You may have built your own at this point. I don't know. You got some things going on, bro. But but you need a database that markets to your people automatically through mailing and e-reports and stuff. And then you also want to make sure that you're scheduling a set amount of time every day to call a few of your clients, write a few personal notes to your clients, and schedule some face-to-face time, whether it be lunch or breakfast or a coffee, some sort of client party, which are kind of limited right now because of COVID. But those 2 things together in tandem, do things for the right reason, build a system around the way, around those things that you do for the right reason. So if you do get so big, you need to hire an assistant, they know the way you do things. That client is going to be loyal to your stand. This is a Gary Keller quote from the Millionaire Real Estate Agent. People are not loyal to you. They're loyal to your quality of service or your standard of service. So if you do need to hire an assistant and you don't want your clients to feel like you let them down and shuff them off on your assistant, build a system around that. Say, hey, assistant, this is the way we show houses. This is the way we list houses. This is the way we pull comps and stuff. And by doing that, you can scale out and people can still feel loved.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more. It's like my brother is the head chef and restaurant manager at, a really amazing restaurant up in Oregon. And like when I go there, dude, and we go out to eat there, like I know my brother's not gonna, sit me at the table and take our order, deliver our drinks, cook our food, right? He's got this amazing team that they have the right standards, the right training, and whatever that ensures that experience is delivered. And that's what people want, right? Like he's not even cooking my food. I can't even go to the restaurant and be like, oh, my brother's cooking my food. It's so amazing. Right? He may have created the menu, set the standards, and make sure that people are following those. But I won't use that analogy because it's sometimes us as realtors, we get so kind of that tunnel vision, right? Where, we think our situation's different, but if we look at all these other industries out there, it just carries over to those. So we're to break those 2 things down a little bit further. So let's first start talking about, like when you talk about, setting your intentions and really that is just speaking to delivering a highly exceptional experience, right? And the second part to that is important, as you mentioned, because it doesn't matter how great the experience is. If you don't continue that relationship, they're going to forget about the experience, forget your name or whatever that may be. So when it comes to the experience, you talked about, making a celebration at closing and so forth, right? And a lot of people talk about, you do like just deliver exceptional service, right? But sometimes it can be hard to, for realtors, I think, and I get it, right? We're not always the most creative. We're salespeople, like, what does that mean? People use these vague terms and it's like, okay, well, what does that necessarily mean? So like what are some of the ways that you guys intentionally make that experience great for them as they're going through the transaction itself?
So to like start at the end and go back, we'll Stephen Covey it or Quentin Tarantino it. But like at closing, an ideal situation is we've had an opportunity to sneak back in the house, like after walkthrough, leave, some champagne, chocolate, and maybe, if it's a couple, a gift card to a nice restaurant. If I know what their hobbies are, like I have a client that is into hiking and stuff. So I went to like a hiking outdoor sporting goods kind of place, get her something nice from there, but something that tells them like, hey, this wasn't just about the closing. Like we actually do love you. We actually do care about you, but something for them to walk in and you try to create a moment. Like when they first walk back in the house, it's their new home, closing's done. And automatically, because you're a salesperson, they're probably thinking, oh, never going to hear from Michael again. But what's the first thing that happens to them? They walk back in the house and there's a gift that Michael left for them. Like this isn't over. The other thing I started doing last year that I really like is door wraps. It's not very expensive. It's not very hard. If you're not good at wrapping presents like me, you can hire an assistant to help you with this, but a door wrap's nice. Those are a couple little things you can do. I love getting pictures at closings with clients and putting it on Facebook. Most people love that. It's one of the biggest things they'll ever do in their lives. If you look at most people's Facebook feeds, it's like a highlight reel of their life. And you could be part of that highlight reel. You can kind of create it for them. So get a picture of them at closing, talk about them and what a great deal they got, or what a great job they did getting their house ready to sell, but something positive about them. Backing up from that, before closing, you're usually showing houses and negotiating offers and stuff. When I put an offer on a house, I really try to educate the buyer why we're offering this price and show them the comps to show them that, hey, I'm not just throwing numbers at the wall to try to get paid here. I want you to get a fair deal. Here's the comps on the house. Now, if you're in a super low inventory market like I am, you're probably not able to get everyone to steal right now, man. Like you're up against 20 other buyers. Like we've literally had those situations recently where there's 20 offers on one house. So, but even still, we try to educate them and take the time to walk through the process a little bit. Backing up from that, when we're showing homes, again, I'm focused on, man. I'm not walking through the house scrolling Facebook. You guys done looking here yet? You ready to go to the next one? I'm asking them questions. Hey, does this home feel right to you? Do you like it? Okay, that's totally fine. What don't you like about it? I'm always trying to get feedback from them so I can tailor fit their search to find the right house, so they're not just perpetually looking at houses. I'm not exhausting them. And then before that, like right after they get into my funnel, when things were more open, I'd always sit down with every single buyer at Starbucks or something, just to kind of go over the home buying process, let them know all the costs involved, get a really good feel for what they need. I try to spend more time listening to them than I do, barking at them. And then before that, whenever we get a referral, I always send a personal note to the person that referred them. Like a habit, man. I have a little notepad wallet. What's that guy's name that wrote Getting Things Done? Kind of similar to the name of your podcast.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about. He lives over in Amsterdam now, but he used to do corporate coaching and stuff. But he wrote a book called Getting Things Done. I saw him speak at a conference, and he said the most effective thing he's ever done is get a little notepad wallet. And when something pops in your brain you need to do, you just pull out your little notepad and you write it down. Now you could say, hey, I have an app on my phone that I use for that. Yeah, but when you look at your phone, you see the push notifications, you go on Facebook, you get distracted. That little notepad wallet has saved me, man. Like, so when I get a text from someone, hey, I'm sending my buddy Brian to you, I write down a name. Okay, John sent Brian. I need to write John a note. So as soon as someone enters the funnel, we're sending out gratitude to that person. So that's kind of the experience we're going for. You send them in, we thank you for the referral. We take fantastic care of the referral by educating them on the process. We're locked in and present, showing them houses that they want. We're not showing them crap houses that they don't want. We're showing houses they want. We educate them on the offer we're putting in. We show up at closing, take a good picture with them, and try to get them something that means something to them as a closing gift. And then they go in the database and we're following up with them.
Yep. Love it, dude. And man, so many think, like one of my favorite Jeff Bezos quotes is as business owners, we should never focus on shiny objects because the shiny objects never last, right? And kind of follows that up with success is all about mastering the fundamentals. And, it's, if you break down those things, it's like, okay, like a highly, you're doing a buyer consult, right? You're leading the process. Obviously accomplishing their goals, doing a closing gift, just kind of standard things that pretty much everybody might do. But you guys are just really making sure that you execute on those at a high level.
Yeah.
And that's where success comes from, man, of execute, like mastering the fundamentals, obsessing over the fundamentals, right? It's not necessarily doing some revolutionary thing that nobody else is doing. It's just doing like just even the little things, just obsessing over those. And man, I love it, dude. So then, all right, so you got the closing gift, you celebrated, you crossed the finish line, you plug them into your system. And I know that we could spend 30, this could be probably a 30 or 60 hour course, right? But kind of what are some of the like big, like, okay, like you talked about, mailers that you send, you do the handwritten notes when they send you a referral, what are some, like, kind of, what are the basics? Like, okay, hey, like we got a card going out every month. When they send a referral, we do a really nice hand thank you note. Maybe you do a call every 90 days and like an event. Like, what are kind of the main benchmarks that you guys make sure that you hit within that system?
So events are awesome. Events are very limited right now, but some of the most gratifying experiences I've ever had are doing the events. One, because I get really nervous about them. Completely illogical. Like, I'm inviting all these people to a brewery. I bought drinks for everybody, awesome food. They're going to have a great time. And in my head, I'm thinking, man, these people are going to hate me for dragging them out of their houses and stuff. So I would encourage everyone listening, like, if you can do a client party where you are, do it. When society opens back up, we'll be doing them again. But people love those, and you can really build a community within your community. Beyond that, man, the calls, notes, regular pop buys, like for Valentine's, I bought like 110 boxes of chocolates. We're going to pop by 110 of our clients, say hi to them. Again, the goal there is we're staying in touch after a closing has happened. We can't make any more money off of you, but we're still showing up with something just to say thank you. But if you can really, again, it's so simple. Just stay in touch regularly, provide some sort of value, follow up with a phone call every now and then. After someone closes, there's usually a follow-up call within a week or two just to say, hey, how's the house? Is there anything we can help you with? If it's a seller, we do a lot of listings too. If it's a seller, we call them and say, like next day, hey, did the wire come through? People usually like that phone call. Michael loves me enough to make sure I got paid. My equity check came through, man. That's pretty much it, man. Once you close, if you can get them into a systematic follow-up system, and then sprinkle in some actual voice-to-voice, face-to-face contact, you will have a client for life.
Yeah, dude, I love it, man. Love it. So then, my next question is, because look, dude, like you've got a team, you got 1,000 plus of these past clients now. It gets to a point where you can't do it all. How do you then start to scale it with the team and make making sure that it's still that same level of service and so forth, right? Effectively, right? Because I'm guessing at this point, you're not going out there and delivering all those chocolates and doing all those pop buys to 1,000 plus people out there.
Yeah. Great question. So Jocko Willink has a book called Extreme Ownership. You can also find this instruction in the book of Genesis. But basically, you can only effectively manage so many people at one time. I think Jocko breaks it down to like 4 top managers, and they have people under them, and they have people under them. And once you kind of hit your 4 or 5 people that you're really managing, that's it. And then they need to start building team members under them. So when you do start to scale, and I do have someone that does my pop buys for me and stuff. I do have a couple agents that I pass buyers off to. When you do start to scale, you want to make sure you hire people who are gifted in the thing that you are scaling to them. I made this mistake. I have had people in the past that worked for me. I didn't get it right. I didn't get the hire right. And I get a phone call from the client and they say, hey, that guy is the exact opposite of you. Like, he's not talking to us. He ain't excited to be here. He just kind of opened the door at the showing, and we walked in and looked around, and then he's looking at us like, are you done yet? And I was like, oh my God, this is so bad. I was mortified. Well, now when you bring on a new hire, you get a fun opportunity to figure out what they're good at. Sometimes you bring them on for something that it's not their highest area of expertise. It's not their highest area of talent. We've all been created with certain gifts and talents, and we all have certain areas we're going to be better at things. And so I have an assistant now who's unbelievably gifted with people. And she, like me, she's just so happy to see everybody. Like, I genuinely love people, love being around people. So this is a good job for me. And so when I have her do pop buys, it's not because I didn't want to be there. It's because I couldn't be there. But people don't feel let down that she showed up. They don't feel let down when she shows them a house. And it's the same with my buyer's agents and stuff. I try to spend a good amount of time around them every week so that when they go out into the field to work with a buyer or something, the buyer feels like they're getting the same experience. My first buyer's agent ever, actually my second one, I failed on the first one. My second one, he spent so much time with me that people at the closing company that we use thought he was me, which is insane because he's like much better looking, taller, much bigger muscles, and I was thinking like, there's no way Kyle looks like me, but he spent so much time around me, like we were so much alike. So I would say if you can identify a few key people, maybe it's obviously not 4 or 5 to start, but it's just one. Identify somebody that's talented in the area that you need them to be talented in. Spend a ton of time with them. Go over your systems with them. That's how you scale out.
Yeah. Well, and I know you alluded to this earlier, but in order for you to have success at doing that, right, like you have your processes documented. You have the system built that then, you can inspect what you expect and kind of make sure that those processes are happening. But then in addition to that, you set your standards, right? That then, they're the right person to be able to meet those standards that you have and deliver that experience and so forth. And so then out of curiosity, when you are, because you talked about the pop buys and you gave an example with the chocolates for Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
But when you're doing your mailers to them, because the reality is, if we look at pretty much any given market, there's somewhere between 2 to 5% of the total population, so like, okay, I'm in Phoenix, right? 5+ million people out here in Phoenix, the metropolitan area. Now, some of these aren't able to buy and sell because they're kids or whatever. But if you look at total population, right? There's only about 2% of people that are selling and buying or selling in any given year. Right. So in us as realtors, we typically are just hitting the people that are looking to buy and sell, right, and not having a plan for what about that other 98% or 95%, right? Well, we can deliver things of value to them. So if and when they're thinking about selling, we've got that mindset capture. And so when you're doing like these mailings and stuff, these are people that maybe just bought a home or don't have intentions of selling. And, for maybe 5-10 years, whatever that may be, like what are things that you're sending of value that get them to engage, that get them to read it, that get them to pay attention to it so you can stay front of mind?
So I've gotten direct feedback on this. Okay. So I only market to my database. I don't cold call anything. I don't cold mail anything. And if you do, that is totally fine. If you rock at it, do your thing, bro. But I only market my database. And so when they receive a piece of mail from me, they actually know the person sending it. And so it could be tips on credit repair. It could be, hey, a reminder, tax season's coming up. Hit me up if you need a good referral for a tax person. It could be ideas on how to upgrade your home so that you get top dollar. But pretty much some sort of pertinent, valuable information to them that has something to do with homeownership, even if they don't open it. I have direct feedback on this. Even if they don't open it, they saw my name. I'm top of mind. It's that Nike thing. If I say tennis shoes, most people say Nike. You say toothpaste, they say Crest and Colgate. You want to be that to your database. And most people think you have to go viral to do that. I need 200,000 Instagram followers. I need 1 billion, followers on Facebook or TikTok or whatever. In real estate, you don't. You want to be an inch wide and a mile deep. When you get to somebody like Josh Smith, it's a little bit different. You're not just marketing to people buying and selling houses in Phoenix. You're marketing to agents because you're coaching and stuff and helping a whole bunch of people make their lives better. So you need a podcast with a broad reach. But in real estate, you can make a killing just being top of mind with a couple hundred people that you've done a really good job for. So that's really the only people that I market to. And I know a lot of them, they'll send me texts like, hey, why'd you send me junk mail this month? Kind of poking fun at me. And I don't take that as like, oh, that was a waste of money. They didn't read that 25-cent letter. I think, got a little piece of your brain today, didn't I? So then they go to work and their buddy says, hey, I'm thinking about moving. And they say, oh man, you should use Michael. And they don't say, Michael sent me junk mail. You shouldn't use Michael. They say, oh man, you should use Michael because I'm just top of mind and I did a good job for him.
Yeah. I just found this the other day. I was cleaning out my room in our house, and now I quit like production, if you will, about 6 or 7 years ago, like working with buyers, working with sellers. At that point, I pivoted to being a full-time team leader and, just making sure my agents have everything they need to be successful. But while I was in production, man, so I found this I used to do a monthly newspaper, right? Yes. Joshua Smith Real Estate Group Homeowner News, right? And then in here, come like this, right? And it has my branding, whatever, but just to your point, like the 4 best home improvement projects for your money, right? Yeah. And then, as you come in here, it's stuff about like new movies coming out, sports.
That is awesome.
Puzzles. But you can see, like, I have my little, I'm my own advertiser in my own paper. And then, on the back, I have like a list of my most recent sales or whatever, Yeah. But having stuff like this, I don't even know if I can't remember the company that did these for me. The name is, but little shit like that, man. Whether it's a newsletter or it can be so powerful. And
that is genius. That is genius. I've never seen anyone do that, bro. That is amazing.
Yeah, and it built up to the point where, dude, it wasn't cheap, right? That was costing me about $5 per, because they wrote it all for me. They did everything. They did the research on my market and knew my niche and so forth, but with the lifetime value of a past client, you guys got to understand, those watching and listening, that lifetime value of a past client, it's not just what they close with you from a referral basis. If you do this right, they can be $100,000 of value to you and your organization over the lifetime of your career.
Easily.
Right? So those investments become worth it. As you just said, dude, and I even say this for email. This is why, I preach to all my agents. Like my email, I'm going to make sure that where it says my first name will be Joshua Smith, my last name will be like comma Realtor. Right? So when they click the checkmark box and click the trash can, they're subconsciously seeing Joshua Smith Realtor. So if they don't read it, if they delete it, whatever, right, they're still seeing that. And as you just said, man, if it goes from countertop to trash can, you still embedded that impression. And that stuff's so powerful, dude. I'm curious, dude, if do you do any segmentation of your past clients, and like what I mean of, okay, hey, maybe the top 20%, that are true ambassadors, the biggest raving fans that send you referrals, right? Like maybe you're doing all these things for everybody, but then you have a certain percentage, like maybe your top 50, top 1, whatever refers that you do special things for.
Absolutely. Yeah. So you want to show gratitude to the people who appreciate you. Is so simple. And you want to spend, when I talk about doing face-to-face appointments, voice-to-voice, doing pop buys, you start with those people. You don't want to pop by someone's house that barely knows you because you haven't talked to them in 5 years and they never pick up the phone. But one of the coolest things about real estate are all the rewarding relationships and friendship that you can have when you become someone worthy of having those relationships. And high quality people, more and more, will come and seek you out the more you develop yourself. And so absolutely. You have those people that just become raving fans and shout from rooftops why everyone should use you. And man, it can turn into, they're worth $100,000 to your database over the course of a few years. I have clients like that. I have clients that they've sent me so many referrals that have closed. I couldn't tell you I'm in 10, 13, 15. I don't know. And so again, figure out what those people like, get them those things, show them you love them.
And what also kind of the long-term effects of this, or I should say impact, and again, for those that are watching and listening, just to understand the power of this. Not only does this allow you to go out there and create an amazing business with like, you're not having to chase people, you're not having to, probably go through a constant commission battles of discounting. You're not having to go on a listing appointment with 5 other realtors. Right. Plus, in addition to that, if you're going after affluent clientele, right, they do business through referral. It's just how it goes, man. They're they have their inner circles, their trusted advisors, people they trust in their life, like that. So, so all of those things become massively powerful. But then also in addition to all that, the end game, because unless you go out there, go out there and create a brokerage. It's hard to go out there then and sell our business. Like we can earn a bunch of commissions, but then we don't have necessarily a sellable business after that for most, right?
Right.
Some teams have been successful at selling, but it's still, that can even be create some big bottlenecks and challenges, but now you got a database that you can sell. And I know people that have done this right, that have been able to sell their database for $500,000, $1 million, even as individual realtors, right? Because they've built a database just like you have, right? Where we're just like an attorney or an insurance agent. Right. Like when they sell at the end of the day, what you're truly buying is their book of business. So this is now your book of business that you can prove, track, measure, that now you got. Not only is it paying you a shit ton of money and makes your business and life more enjoyable doing business in this manner, now you got a sellable asset at the end of the day. So,
That's so true. When someone buys a dental office or a doctor office, they're not buying the space. They're not buying the chairs and the tools. That stuff comes with it. But really what they're buying is those relationships. It ain't much different, man.
So I want to kind of pivot in the talking points that you provided, or just, ideas of topics that we could talk through here. There's two things in there that I wanted to hit on, and I'll list them both and let you kind of pick which order makes sense, because maybe they also go together somewhat. But the top three things that you're doing now, which I'm assuming one of those is what we've been talking about. But then also, with this low inventory market, you talk about focusing on getting listings right now, which is do that. I mean, that's the biggest obstacle I'm getting from everybody right now, is they need more listings. So, and I don't know if those kind of build off of each other, but I'm really curious, I'm curious about both, but then, focusing on getting listings, but then it's like a business through referral. Like I don't necessarily know how you can necessarily do that, right? So, and again, I'll let you kind of hit which one you want to hit first that makes sense to you.
Yeah. So three things doing right now to grow a business. Again, what you said, we are in an inventory star market. One, you need to know why. If you ask your average agent why inventory is so starved, that agent, if a client's asking them, you should be able to tell them why. And to me, it's pretty simple. I walk everybody through this real quick. In 2008, we were building about 2 million houses a year as a country. And then the market crashed. We stopped building houses. Now we're building about 1 million houses a year, but we have a higher population. We also have lower interest rates than ever, and people are staying in their homes a little bit longer than they should. Then you got the coronavirus. So some people are really nervous about selling. And so the benefit of knowing that if you're an agent is to be able to detail to a client, a potential seller, that, hey, you could get top dollar beyond what you ever could have gotten before if you sell now, because of those four things that are going on. Then specifically what I've been doing is just calling back through the database, man. End of last year, beginning of this year, I sat in my office. I went back to 2015 to all my tracked sales and said, hey, who on this list that bought a home in 2015 from me did not sell that home yet? And I picked up the phone and called them. And if they didn't answer, I sent them a little follow-up email with their comps and said, hey, here's what you paid. Here's what your comps are saying your home's worth. If you want to talk about it, let me know. Give me a call. Then I went through 2016, 2017. By the time I got to 2016, I was getting more and more listings. And so, what do you do when you get busy? You stop some of your follow-up. And whenever I get slow, I just go back to that list. But that's really it. I just go back through the people that I've helped buy houses and determine who hasn't sold yet and dictate or show them, exemplify to them why it's a good time for them to sell. Yeah. Pretty simple, man. I know. Simple.
Yeah. No, and dude, and I love that you brought up the why we're in this situation, because again, something most don't think about. Honestly, it's a question that like we, my team mastermind that we do every week with my agents, like we're always discussing this and ways to combat it and have success getting listings, right? But I can't say that I've had many people, I can't even really think of that have asked me, well, why is this situation taking place? Right. Yeah. And so that just shows me that most agents aren't even thinking about it and so forth. And, I just read recently that, just to your point with the stats that you gave, but we're 1.2 million new builds short on an annual basis of what we need to be building. So 1.2 million short just to keep up with the population growth rate. And if we caught up to, like, let's just say we were building, and that would be, 2.2 million homes a year, it would take 30 years to catch up to just meet the population growth if we got to where we need to be. And that's why we see these hedge funds like Blackstone as an example, for really the first time in recorded history, coming in and swallowing up single family detached now at such a high level, where they've always focused on multifamily and commercial buildings and so forth. Yeah, right. Because they know that there is a massive, and for the long term, there's going to be a massive shortage of homes for people to live in, right? So then with okay, so well, I guess that answered both questions, right? Like the top three things that you're doing now, or was that just one of them to get listings?
Yeah, that's what I do to get listings on a voice to voice or really direct marketing sense. So it's like, let's say you bought a house in 2015. I would have called you this year or end of last year, December. And I really do this every year, but even more so this year with start inventory, is call you, send you comps, check in with you, see how you're doing, and show you why it's such a good time to sell. And then if it's not good for you, no hard feelings, totally fine. If you know anybody else is saying about buying or selling, I'd love to help them out too. And I ask you for a referral, but only after I provide value.
Yeah, I hate interrupting anybody, dude, but I don't want to forget this question because I think it's so important. And again, these are just questions these are challenges that I'm facing with my teammates too, right? Just not other agents that are chasing this, but then, dude, I know it's a great time for me to sell right now. I know I would love, right? Get top, like if I could sell right now in my market, in my personal home, I would, but what is prohibiting me from doing that is the only reason for me to sell would be then to buy the next house that I want.
Right.
And the next house that I want just doesn't exist out there. Literally in the area that I want, dude, there is zero. And there hasn't been, and I haven't seen anything in at least the last 9 months. I'm watching it, but so then you got that conundrum where they would love to sell. They know it's a great time, but then they're like, well, hell, what would I do? Because what I want doesn't exist.
I try to encourage people to save up enough money to make a really competitive offer on the next home. And after I've told them, hey, you have a very good chance of someone not asking you for closing costs, they'll probably go over the asking price. So it's going to be a great situation for you selling. You're going to experience the negative side of that when buying. So don't rush them into selling without educating them on both sides. Do both and inform them how much money they'll need to buy their next home, and then explain the benefit to them. It's a really great time to borrow a lot of money at a fixed rate for 30 years because the interest rate is lower than it's ever been. And if they say, well, we're going to wait it out till a crash happens, it's probably not going to crash, man. The last crash happened because we were giving out a lot of funny money to funky loans. That's what happened. It ain't happening now. If anyone listeners has recently tried to get a home loan, it's not an easy process. The underwriter, at least in our state, I don't know about all states, but in Virginia, they re-pull just about everything on you 3 days before closing, ask you for all new updated bank statements. So if we're that intense with verifying in this country now that borrowers have the ability to borrow the money, crash is probably not coming. And so with that being in mind, it's probably the cheapest the houses are going to be for a long time. And the interest rates are lower than they're probably ever going to be again. So yeah, it's going to be a little bit difficult. You may have to come off a lot of cash, but it's probably better now than it ever will be again. Does that kind of answer that question?
Yeah, I appreciate you shedding light on that.
Yeah, totally, man. And then, if what they want is what you want, like you said, what you want just isn't out there, some buyers and sellers are going to be like that. And you still did a good thing. You still went over or talked to them on the phone, gave them an update on their value. Again, you're top of mind. You provided value to them by giving them a home valuation update. People love that. They're going to refer you. It's okay. Never tiring doing good. And then also the marketing outside of that. So I do a lot on social media. When I do help a seller close, I'll put on there, if they're uncomfortable with it, then I won't. But I'll say, hey, they got a big fat equity check from selling their home. Now's a great time to sell. So people are just seeing over and over again, both from either phone calls or emails from me, but also on social media, because most of my clients are my friends on social, that, hey, they got a bunch of money. I want a bunch of money. Let's sell our house, hon. And then again, like the number 3 thing, I probably say this too much, but just showing gratitude consistently. If you just go back through, try to provide value to your database, tell them thank you. And oh, by the way, I'm never too busy for your referrals, especially sellers, but make it a little more specific. Whereas in times past, I'd say, if you know anything about buying or selling, I'd love to help them out. Now I really try to hone in. If you know anything about selling a house, now's a great time to sell. And there's a lot of people, you may not even realize it, that may have a rental property that they bought in 2008 that they couldn't resell in 2012 because their value tanked, right? now's probably a good time for me to sell it. I had a conversation like that with one of my friends today, and we're probably going to sell his house in June.
Yep. Love it, dude. So then, and I know we're going long on time here, so just a few last questions for you. When it comes to your social media, and I love what you talked about posting, and dude, I'm a huge fan of Don Miller with Story Brand, and telling stories. You're not being that annoying, douchey realtor that's, hey, look at a buyer sell, call me, I'll get you, right? Like you're doing it from a place of gratitude, appreciation. You're telling stories and, all of that. But what are the other things that you do? So that's kind of planting the real estate seed, but to kind of deepen the connection with you, between them and you. What is, do you have any kind of principles or strategies, like maybe it's personal posts versus business posts to make sure they're like getting to know all of you?
Yes. So there are formulas out there, and I don't know them because I'm not a formula kind of person on social media, but there's some sort of golden ratio for the personal post to business post. I don't know that. I just try to go off my own personal inspiration and try to be real, man. So like you said, to deepen that personal connection, so your entire social media presence isn't just like, hey, I sell houses. You want to be approachable. If you go to my business page, it's a picture of me, my wife, and my kids. If you go to my personal page, most of my posts outside of real estate about my wife and my kids, going to the gym, some sort of hobby. I like posting pictures of my cereal a lot. I've had clients show up at closing with boxes of cereal for me because they know I like Cinnamon Toast Crunch so much. True. What's that mean? Like, did the box of cereal save me that much money because they bought it? No. But I got through to piece their brain so consistently with like, oh, Michael likes certain things outside of real estate. They showed up with a box of cereal for me because I posted about it on social media. So that's what I do. I try to trickle in the real estate stuff around who I am as a person. And who I am as a person, I'm a married guy, love my wife, love my kids. I love going to the gym and running and stuff. I try to post funny videos. Like I had a video last week. I got to the showing, dude, and the agent had given me the wrong code. But we got a showing time. I'm there with my client. It's a hot market. My buyer wants to see this house like now. So I went around and checked all the windows, crawled through the window, but I got my client to record that video and I put it on Facebook. People love that stuff, man. Make it fun. That's marketing. Marketing is not, hey, I paid Facebook to put this ad on blast and we're going to help you. If you sell now, we're going to cut our commission. It's making people laugh. It's being personable. That video right there deepens the relationship.
Yeah. And dude, it's funny. It shows the day in the life of a realtor, which people, I think a lot of realtors discount that, right? Like people are very interested in the day in the life of a realtor. Like, why do so many people watch these fucking silly $1 million listing shows? Right? Because dude, they like it. I don't know. It's something about what we do that intrigues them with the homes and kind of like what we do. But also it's planting that seed that like you go above and beyond and you're a problem solver. And is there anything that you do, because it's, okay, hey, you're posting actively. I'm sure people that like and comment, you're responding to those, but is there anything that you do, to engage them? Like maybe once a day you go in there and, because I don't know if you know this or if you do this, but like in Facebook, you can actually, for all your friends, you can segment your friends list, right? So you could just have it where it's just all past clients, right? Where then you can quickly just pull up and then like and comment, engage and, on their stuff. So it's not just them coming to you, it's you going to them. I mean, is there anything that you kind of do or part of your daily process to also making sure that you're liking and commenting and on their stuff to, at the end of the day, it's how to win friends and influence people, right? Like people want to feel important. At the end of the day, that's all that matters. That's what makes people feel special. At the core, that is really the true, core driver for all human emotion is kind of that we want to feel important. We want to feel special, right? And when you're commenting on their stuff and liking their stuff, right? It just makes them feel special.
I didn't know about segmentation. You've just taught me something we're probably going to implement. I didn't know you could segment your friends into past clients. I'm going to do that. Thank you, Josh Smith. But what you said there about how to win friends and engaging. So when I do post something, I always try to interact with the commenters. So if you post a listing that people like, they say, man, I love that backyard. Don't just ignore them. Talk to them a little bit. Be personable. Keep the conversation going. They'll come to you first when they're ready to buy or sell, even if they're not ready right then. I'm definitely gonna do that segmentation thing, dude. Thanks. on How to Win Friends and Influence People, I read that book every January. That one and The Richest Man in Babylon. But what you said is so true. We all have that basic human need to feel some sort of significance. And what determines the course of our life is what gives us that feeling, what makes us feel important. And Dale Carnegie in that book talks about the difference between Al Capone and Carnegie or Rockefeller. All of those guys wanted their names to be known. They just got it in different ways. Capone did it by, being a crook. And Carnegie, Rockefeller went around the world building hospitals named after himself. Now, is that kind of egotistical move to name the hospital after yourself? Maybe. He still built a hospital.
Yep.
It ain't so bad, like kids are getting cared for now. It's awesome. I love that book.
Yeah, I do the same, man. Every year I reread that book, dude.
Really? Yeah.
It's the human connection, human rapport Bible, in my opinion, right? Yeah. And there's nothing more important, especially in our niche, and this kind of holds true for all sales, but especially with what we do, right? Because what do we sell? Like we don't sell real estate. Like they're already sold on real estate, and we don't own the product, right? We're just we're the guide that facilitates the experience of helping them accomplish their goals, right? And the most important decision of whether they're going to use us or not is the connection rapport that they have with us and build with us. And obviously we gotta, we can't be a dud at what we do, right? But hopefully that's a given. So then, dude, and it is a silly question, but what is your favorite notepad wallet? Like a second we hang up here, I'm going to order one, dude. Like do you have one that you like the best? You
can order this on Amazon. They're not going to have a brand name on this thing. Watch. Yeah. Royce, Royce. Royce. It's on Amazon. It's probably $20. You can order extra. Look, here's the little pads. You can order extra slips on it. I write my goals down on the very last page of each slip. So if I ever have a rough day or get discouraged, I just go look at my goals. If I have people I need to go back and thank, beyond a personal note, like you're talking about those A pluses and stuff, I write it down on the second to the last page. And then all the pages before that are like my to-do list and notes I'm going to write that day, people I'm going to call. If I have a good idea for a Facebook post or something, I'll write it down. That thing will help you sleep, man. I forget who said it, but they said they keep a notepad next to their on their nightstand next to their bed. And if an idea pops, because we all get those, like it's time to go to sleep. I'm like, oh my God, I got to remember to do this when I wake up. And then you can't go to sleep because you don't want to forget that. Write it down, roll back over. Go to sleep. Beautiful. Helps me sleep great.
Yep. No, I love it, dude. I love it, man. All right. So one last question for you, but before we jump into that, dude, look, we're all real estate agents, team leaders, or broker owners, or those that are maybe aspiring to get into this career that are listening to these podcasts here. And you are in the Virginia Beach market.
Yes, sir.
So if anybody that's watching and listening, man, has a referral for you, has, somebody that's moving to your area, and or wants to just continue following you and seeing what you're up to and what you're doing, on this success journey, like where's the best place for people to go check you out, follow you, get in touch with you, send you a referral and so forth?
Oh, thank you so much for asking. On Instagram, I am late_Mike, LATE_Mike. That's a nickname from my CrossFit gym that I was going to because I'd always show up 3 minutes late for class. and then on Facebook, you can just search Michael Dougherty Real Estate, MICHAEL, last name Dougherty, DAUGH, E as in Echo, R, T as in Tango, Y, Real Estate. My business page will come up. You can feel free to add me on Facebook. If we don't have any mutual friends, I might not add you. Don't take it personal, but there's a lot of people just trying to sell Bitcoin on Facebook and stuff. So just gotta watch out for those.
Yep. Love it, man. All right. So, and you guys, those that are watching, listening, as always, if you just scroll below, doesn't matter if on YouTube, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, Spotify, all the different places that we're on with this podcast. If you scroll below, you'll see the notes. We'll have direct links to all of Michael's social media links, website. We'll make sure all that's below, because I know the majority of you are listening to this while you're working out, driving in the car, listening to this on audio. So, we'll make sure that all that's below for you to be able to have access to that. So, all right, dude, if Michael today, knowing everything that you know now, everything that you've learned through this amazing, 7 year or so experience, if you could go back and have a conversation with, your younger self when you first entered this business, right? Like, okay, if you were like, in like, imagine like the Back to the Future DeLorean. And the reason I'm going to this is because sometimes, and I haven't even thought about this until now, but I've had some guests who are like, I don't even know, because I probably wouldn't have listened. Yeah, right. But if you could like imagine like you're in the DeLorean, right? Like your future self lands, you get out, like you're seeing yourself, right? And your future self tells you, hey man, like this is a crazy journey. Your life 7 years from now, like can't even fathom how amazing it's going to be, the experiences that you're going to have, the success that you create, the amazing family you're going to have, and so forth. But right, make sure to do these two things, right? That mistakes, whatever they would have made. Like if you did these two things and that advice, it would have just fast forwarded this success trajectory. Knowing what you know now today, what would those two things be?
So I do these things now, but I would say if I could go back in time to when I was younger, my kids were younger and everything, do not work at least 1 day a week. Have 1 day set aside that you are totally dedicated to your wife and kids. You do no real estate appointments. And then when you're home, be home. Put the phone down. Your kids, man, we all come probably to a point in time where our wife's kind of done having kids. And you realize your youngest gets to be like 5 or 6. You're like, dang, man, I don't have any more babies. And you just miss those moments when they're little and stuff. And so in real estate, it's really hard. Not hard. It's really easy to brush past those little magical moments when they're young and stuff. And it's really hard to work every day of the week and not give your spouse the attention they deserve. I would say those two things. Take 1 day off a week, maybe get a date night in every week, as we do now, every single week, 1 day night. And then put the phone down, man. Be present with your kids.
Yeah, such powerful stuff, dude. I love that, man. Love it, love it, love it. And Michael, dude, I know how busy you are. And the fact that you took time out of busy to be here, man, this means a lot. It's been an honor. I mean, I love this. I know that everybody that's watching or listening to this is love this and got so many, amazing takeaways and learned so much from you, man. It's truly, truly appreciate you being here, dude.
Thanks, man. Thanks for the opportunity. Pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Yeah, 100%, man. And those watching and listening, as always, information without implementation is just the start of an illusion. Information isn't power. It's taking that information that we learn, then executing on that, implementing on that gives us the power to go out there and create the lives that we know we want and deserve. And Michael shared so many amazing pieces of advice with us. Make sure to take something that you learned today, go out there and take action on it, implement on it, so that you can go out there and create the life that you know you want and deserve. And as always, again, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for your support. Keep kicking ass, and we will see you next time. Peace.
Peace. Thanks, dude.
I hope you enjoyed this GSD Mode Podcast episode. Now make sure you get shit done and smash that subscribe button now.